SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome back. So let us start with anatomy of industrial robot. In this lecture, we will be covering the different parts of the industrial robot. A robot is basically a hardware which actually performs the task. It is mostly a mechanical unit with some electromechanical actuators or sometimes only electrical actuators, right? And it also has a hardware device which is basically a controller, electronic controller, which mostly processes the power. It controls the system. It has some closed loop system. It also has some interfaces to external devices, mostly teach pendant, sensors and actuators. So that we will look upon different components that make it, and we will also cover the teach pendant, that is the programming device which is normally attached with any standard industrial robot, right. So let us just watch the small video that I have from my lab. So this is the robot that you see. This is hardware unit, right. Looks like an arm which is 6 degrees of freedom. So you see this is having first axis, that is the first motor that is sitting at the bottom, second one, third motor which is there, that is at the shoulder joint, right, and the fourth one you see, that is for the elbow joint, and then you have two additional actuator which basically makes the wrist part of it. These are the 6 electrical actuators which move the system. This is an electrical robot basically, and you see at the center there is a hole. And this is a special robot where it allows passing cables, wires, ducts, pneumatic wires, and also sometimes arc welding wires also. This is the end effector flange where you can put different tools. Overall, this is your hardware which is there. This is the end effector two-fingered gripper. You see it has a flange which exactly fits onto the top of the end effector of the robot. These are the two pneumatic inputs where you can operate this pneumatic gripper. Yeah, and now we have placed it exactly at the top, and see it has a standard flange which is governed by standard international standard. I have made it go a little down so that I can see from the top. Now you see from the top there is a marker where you can put the supplementary load. Any additional accessory will go on that particular link. Yes. So this is the teach pendant which is there. We will explain very much in detail, and this is the hardware controller which is there. We will look into this also. This is the software which actually forms the inside GUI portion of it, so that you can program something extra apart from a standard which is preloaded there. Robot manual which helps you to understand various important things which are there, which is useful for programming. And this is our typical input output cable. I will show it inside the controller also how it is fitted. This is just an additional spare that I am showing it here. So this is plugged into the IO board, and finally you get to see some input and output with which you can control the robot. Okay. So now what all components that you have seen just now is industrial robot arm. It is the serial robot arm. And then you see some cables for power, cables for sensing, pneumatics, some actuators, controller hardware, and the software you have seen. Software is basically installed inside this hardware controller. teach pendant which is used for programming. We'll get into the details of this teach pendant and various parts of it. End effector tool, I showed you a gripper. It can be a painting gun, it can be a welding attachment, it can be grinding, polishing attachment also, as you have seen in the application videos earlier. Software controller has a GUI to handle different input and output, and optional accessory can be there which is not a standard part of a robot when it comes to you. It can be added on with a camera so that you can decide something based on the camera, that is commonly known as a machine vision system. External axes can be added apart from standard this 6 degrees of freedom axis that you have in this standard robot. You can have an external turntable, let's say, which is also controlled with the same controller so that everything can be synchronized, right? And then there are some input and output where you can have various sensors apart from standard sensors which are already there, which is required to run this type of robot, right? So these are things that you have seen just now. So now let us go to the controller part of it, that is the hardware controller. So again, let me just switch to that window. So yes. So this is the hardware controller that you see externally. It looks like this. So teach pendant is normally it's a docking position for the teach pendant where you keep it hanging. Normally if you go to an industry, this teach pendant is not always visible. This is normally attached when you actually want to do some changes to the program which is already there, or you want to create a new set of program for a given application. Once it is done, it can be taken out for the safety reasons so that nobody can tamper the codes and all, right? So externally what you can see here, this is your switch, main switch, which actually is contacted inside, so that I'll show you inside also, don't worry. And this is the external lock, right? Yes, here we went in, yes. So this is the electronic contactor, right? This is the switch from where 3-phase electricity is getting in. You can see red, yellow and blue wire, that is 3-phase of electricity that is getting in here, okay. From here it goes to the contactor, right? Electronic contactor is here. This part is an inverter which is also known as a converter. So I'll write it down over here, let's see. So this is your converter, right? So or it is in electrical terminology it is also known as a rectifier, which is here. It has various outputs. You see from the top you see it has 3-phase of electricity that is getting in, and then it is converted to a DC. Okay, if you will go through our lecture on my lecture on actuators, you will see this type of motor actually converts a 3-phase electricity to a DC one, and again it is having an inverter that is also part of this controller where it converts it back to variable frequency electricity, AC signal. So AC power which is going to the synchronous motor, AC synchronous motor, which is servo motor, to run that system. Okay, so this is a part of it. So this is rectifier, right? And you see it has various input and output, various outputs which are there, right? This is the earthing you see, which is very, very necessary for this to run, right? And this major part that you see here is basically the CPU. This is the CPU of this kind of robot, central processing unit. You see it has an Ethernet cable which is connected so that I can communicate it from any outside PC or some sort of signal if I have, right? And over here this is a electronic servo controller. This is servo pack, known as servo pack. So electronic servo controller. This is the electronic servo controller, right? That is controlling all your 6 axes. You see 3, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 independent controllers are within this pack which controls all the 6 joints of your robot. Now this part is basically an input and output board, okay, where you have all the external connections. Even to switch on and off your gripper, what you can program through your standard teach pendant. So that program operates these all inputs are output. So one of the bracket is fitted here, that is connected, and it goes somewhere over here. I'll show you. So you see it is made available here. Okay. So this is the place where you see this wire is coming. So from here, right, from here it comes and finally it goes to that board. Got it? So that is the output, input and output terminals basically. This is input and output terminal where you can connect. Even the gripper which I am able to operate from my program or through my teach pendant is basically attached here. Okay. And what you see at the bottom is electronic unit, which is also equivalent to SMPS standard. It is an industrial SMPS which converts the AC signal to different control signals, control electricity. It is in the range of 0 to 24 volt, sometimes 5 volt and even 12 volts. So all those are made available through this SMPS. Got it? Now a big thing which is hanging over here, this is your inverter. This is your inverter, and it has a ducting fan which actually cools it most of the time. All the time it keeps running. So this is your inverter. As soon as you switch on this motor, your robot starts working, this inverter comes into picture, and then it actually starts the fan and all the inverting functions. Okay. And this is also having a connection so that it can be controlled via your controller. Okay. So overall this is there, and if I get further insight to this, I'll show you. Yes. Okay. So this is a closer look at the same for the all those stuffs which I have marked here. So from here you see this is your, if you lock this door from external switch, what you were able to control, actually it was switching this switch. Okay. Yes. So this is all the boards which are there closely, and this is your inverter layout with a fan, and input and output system is controlled here, right. This is your servo pack. Now you can see much clearly. So these are the 6 actuators which were controlled, servo motors which were controlled, is actually powered from here. This is the servo pack. Now this is the teach pendant. Okay, it looks very much like a handheld PC, if you or just like your mobile phone. It has many similar switches that you can find. I'll zoom it inside so that you can see from the top. So first and foremost, it has a switch which is here, which is known as a mode changing switch, right. So it has various modes of operation. If this switch is here, it can be controlled from any external signal. This is for normal running of this robot, right. If it is here, you can normally operate this robot, right. Or if it is here, you can do some teaching operation. You can teach your robot, you can take your robot, teach that place, and later on, if you have recorded that place, you can make your robot go to those specific position what you have taught, right. This is run button. Normally it is just a signal which is green in color, so it shows the status, the robot is started, right. This is for the hold one. If the robot is on hold, it is here. This is very, very important signal. If anything goes wrong, you can press that button. This is also known as a mushroom start stop button, right. So once you have pressed it, everything goes on halt, means wherever that robot is there, it will be there forever, as long as you don't take it out from the hold position. So it has to be rotated in order to unswitch this one. So if it is switched on by pressing it, so you can release it by rotating like this, right. So these are few important switches. These are I am showing you for a Yaskawa GP12 robot. The system is very, very similar. Even if you take any KUKA robot or an ABB robot, right. So things are not very different even for those robots. So just like your mobile phone, if you have played any video game or something like that, so this is your menu operating keys. So left, right, top and bottom, you can drive your menu from here and select one of them, right? If you see x plus, x minus, y plus, y minus, these are some Cartesian motion if you all you want to do, right? So that can directly be done, Cartesian motion can directly be done from here. So along x axis, along y axis, along z axis, so all those you can make here, and then apart from those x plus, x minus, you also see it is written as s minus over here, s plus, l minus, l plus, u minus, u plus, and additionally you have r plus, r minus, right, different switches. So these are, if at all robot is moving in joint at the joint level, you can control all the 6 axes, those joints, directly using these buttons, okay. And what is this? This is external axis. If it is fitted, you can control like a turntable, right. So similar is other robots also, they also have similar buttons, if at all you have seen them. So this is to change the mode, you can either go in joint mode or in a coordinate mode, select the tool, right. Paging control can be done here, right. So few things are very easy to understand just by looking at the icon which is placed on top of this, right. And this is numeric keypad, very commonly used to enter some values if you want, right. You must be wondering, where is my keyboard after all? So keyboard, it is displayed on top of this UI which is here. Keyboard is displayed immediately as you press the key, it comes here, so that you can key in different text if you tell you it is necessary, right. Normally in case of industrial robot, that is not always used, it is not always required. The way it is designed, it is very much user friendly, so that any apprentice, any floor worker can even program it, right. So it is very user friendly, right. So yes, it looks almost, it has all the editing features which are here, all the editing, shift, delete, enter, modify. So all standard modifying feature is here, right. And robot status is shown here. If at all you have a welding attachment also, it is showed here, right. So this is how a teach pendant is, and it is having a handheld thing, so it has a very good handle to hold it firmly with your hand, so that you can program it very perfectly, right. And this is the wire which goes below. Now looking from the back, it has various other things which are here, right. So yes, these are some of the external pen drive you can insert here, so that you can copy a code and you can copy it to your controller also. Pen drive, some IOs, temporary IOs can be fitted here. And what you see here, it is just next to your hand gripper, okay, from where you are gripping it, right. So this is a switch. From here it is not very easy to display it, but yes, this is a 3-state switch. So if you hold it, it is off, if you press it, it is on, and if you further press it, it is again off. What does it mean actually? It is a panic state switch, so that when you feel something is in danger, right, you can pull your hand sharply and it will be off only. So by default it is off, even if you throw it off, even if you hold it very firmly, it is off. So in order to keep this status on, servo on all the time, so this is the indication that servo is on. So if it is on, means you have gradually pressed it, right. So this is very interesting switch which is there. Sometimes in case of many other robots, you have 2 of them, right. So you have here, and you may also be having here also, right. So this is how it externally looks like. So it is very beautiful tool to program your robot, right. Okay. So now that you have seen the controller and various accessories, right. So what all things that you have seen here is a controller, which is normally just like an industrial PC. It is a controller which is a PC which has some standard real-time operating system. VxWorks may be Windows CE, Windows Embedded, Windows IoT version, those sort of real-time OSs which are there, or in this case it is a proprietary embedded operating system which can be there, right? And it has a servo drive that you have seen, servo drives, the 6 thing that I have shown you, which individually controls the servo motors which are there. Backup battery, yes. So in few cases you also find a small battery which is sitting inside this type of controller. What happens in if at all you see a power failure, it doesn't go off immediately. It safely shut down the system so that nothing wrong goes on, and then it safely shut down your PC, right? So that when you switch it on, it remembers where it was, right? So in that case your system is very, very safe. So it has a battery backup just like your standard UPS. So it is there. Input and output modules you have seen for grippers, for handling sensors, to know the state of a gripper also, let's say. That is a very small sensor which is required to run this system, right? So if you have a gripper, you should know whether it is closed or if it is open, right? If one of your joint reaches its limit, right? So you should know it has reached to its limit, now you have to stop. So that also is a kind of sensor which is necessary to run your robot. So that also is a sensor. There can be external sensor also, right? There are safety circuits. There are safety circuits which are normally required again to run the system, to implement various industrial standards. This safety circuit is a prerequisite to make it friendly, right? So, and then you saw some power systems which were there. Control power system is there, converting AC to DC and DC back to AC, that variable frequency drive and those kind of things. So those were the power system that was there inside, right? It has some cable connectors to connect your robot, right? And data communication wire. This is again very, very important thing. You may have some standard industrial protocols like Profinet, DeviceNet, Profibus, EtherCAT. These are some industrial way of communicating things, just like your Ethernet. They are kind of Ethernets only, with which you can communicate to remote devices which are connected to the robot, or the signal may be coming from some other robot, or maybe from a sensor which is sitting very, very far apart, right? So this is all about this controller, if you see, right? That's all. I think by now you got to know what makes a robot, what all things that goes into the robot. So in the next lecture we will be covering technical specification of industrial robot. So how do you define different parameters which actually with which you can understand how my robot will perform, what are the capabilities of my system. So those things I will be covering with in my next lecture. That's all. Thanks a lot.